Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We should be seeing an earnings day come out any day now for Mullen Automotive, and I believe if there's any more announcements outside of what was reported yesterday with Bollinger Motors, and we're going to take a look at that company that they're doing that joint development with in this video, so we're going to cover that. But I believe they're in a blackout period right now, so I don't expect to hear any more news, not even about the vans. I would be very surprised if we hear something. There is a potential that we could hear something, but they should be going into a blackout period, preparing for the earnings date, which was supposed to be at last quarter. It was on the 21st. So we've passed that. We should be getting a notification as to when that call is going to happen. Hopefully, this price will find a bottom soon. We're going to take a look at the charts, and there's a few other stocks that I want on your watch list for today. Let's get into it. If you go into the archive filings for Bollinger Motors on March 12th of 2020, they have an image of their vehicle embedded here with Beam for All. So Beam was a solar-powered mobile solution, and it looked like they were doing some future events showing the mobility and interest of going electric in the military with the Marines. And this is the Bollinger vehicle here in the background. So just know that in that last conversation, where David introduced Robert to the group, he basically said that there is the potential that they could be bringing this back to life and it could have military use for it. So that's something else since we're talking about Bollinger. Yesterday, all eyes were on the Fed as the Fed explained that there would be further downward pressure in the Q&A in the housing market and that a soft landing was going to be very challenging. And the 75 basis points came out. The market definitely responded to that. But ultimately, a lot of people were not expecting how hawkish the Fed would be moving forward, that these interest rate hikes would pull back at some point. And I think they still will, but he set the tone that they would become increasing instead of decreasing in the future while using lagging indicators and not looking forward. So there's a lot of criticism on the Fed. Also, it looks like Putin isn't messing around with the activation of 300,000 reservists, and supposedly China calls for a ceasefire through that dialogue. This is a big topic, one that we're going to want to watch, and also the conflict between China and Taiwan. Don't forget about that one because those are movers of the market. So here, if we look at the major indices in the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P, you can see the market was unusually high. Towards the end of the day, it really sunk in that the Fed is planning to raise these interest rates, and they're here to stay probably through 2023, and we might not see any pullback in these interest rates because we're so elevated right now till 2024. So if we take a look at these auto manufacturers on FinViz, you can see it was a red day for a lot of the market, and there were some pretty big losses, 11, 10%, 8% down here, and there is even some short float that is at a high rate. I would say anything over 25% is pretty high. So Fisker, if the short interest rate, the borrow fee gets high on this, this could present, with some good news, a short squeeze potential. So keep your eye on this if it gets any lower. And these major pullbacks, you want to pay attention to these like NEO. Maybe that's worth looking at. But Mullen specifically down another 7%. It's still trying to find a bottom. As another bit of good news comes out, Bollinger Motors and Wabash announce a joint development. Now, we know that Bollinger Motor is going to provide the electric chassis, but what I want to do with you is I want to take a look at Wabash and let you know just a little bit about this company. Now, it is located in proximity of Purdue University, which is a very well-known university for engineers, and it's going to have a talent pool that really helps this industry out. And Wabash is about diversity. They've got commercial transportation, food, dairy, beverage, chemical, farm, biotech, energy. For Wabash's financial segments and financial performance, they have two segments. They've got transportation solutions and parts and services. And I'm not sure why they have this right to left. It should really be left to right. But it does say that it does have growth, so it's going this direction from Q2 of 2021 to Q2 of 2022, incrementally growing both in revenue and operating margins across the board. And why is that important? Because you want to make sure that these guys can pay their bills. They've also got a website, WNC, if you haven't heard of these guys. They also have a boot camp. They are doing a lot of training with people within that company, and they have incremental growth quarter over quarter. And I want to show you that here, that you can see that there has been a little bit happening in the past, but overall, this is incrementally growing very nicely with gross margins that look very solid. They've got money on their balance sheet. Not only that, but they also have positive cash flow statements. So this is very important, especially in this environment. Let's start off with the 5-minute chart. I want to catch everybody up with what happened in the last 24 hours. So in the pre-market yesterday, there was a big sell-off. There was a lot that needed to catch up in the system, and people sold off all the way, and this dropped all the way down to 41. And this was the opportunity to get in and sell out of your position to catch up on some of those losses. If you lost back here for that almost 7%, you should have been able to get about 6%. And right here is meeting resistance. It was not closing higher than when it opened. And this initial candle was a signal not only because it had lost almost 8% in the first drop. So that's definitely a buying opportunity in my position. But you definitely want to be able to trade out of this as soon as it recovers, because it's going to get rejected, especially with understanding that it was the Fed meeting. And then it came back to revisit this same level, not quite as low, but they tried to come up to find support. So I like what's happening here. I like that it's coming down and it's immediately getting rejected to say, I don't want to be here. But then there's something else happening that I don't like, is that it ultimately closed lower than that previous point here and did not find support. It busted through. So on the pre-market, in the pre-market, what we want to see is that this can hold above 41.01. We want to see this hold, and when market opens, if this breaks through 41.01 and cannot stay above this, it's okay if it revisits, touches 40 cents, and then goes back up to find support. But we want to see some type of confirmation that it doesn't want to be at that level. It's got to start reversing trend, or we may find another new low. All right, so that's all I have for Mullen. Let me know what your comments are in the comments below. But here, I want to share with you, if you made it this far in the video, some things that may help you find some of these runners in the market. If you use this relative volume and put it over 10, there are a few that really stood out for high volume, low market cap plays. So not only high volume, and I like to organize this by volume, but look at these percentages and then go into the news. And then two of them really stood out to me. SOBR, because it looks like they're getting authorization to put breathalyzers, build them into vehicles. So that is a major pullback. That was under $2. This ran all the way up to $3. The second one that I want you to take a look at, and you can pay attention to these industries, is oil and gas. Energy has been hot, and SLNG got approval for shipping outside of the United States when it comes to liquefied natural gas. Last thing I have to say is be sure to check out that link in the comments below. If you want to open up a Webull account, get access to those IPOs before they launch, get access to their trading platform for absolutely free. Deposit as little as $1 by clicking on that link. It's going to be good through the end of this month. Be sure to take advantage of that. That's all I got, and I'll see you guys in the next video.